another day alive. Welcome to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Long time no talk, long time no see. My apologies on that front, but it's been minicamp. Who gives a crap about minicamp? The things that matter to me in the offseason are free agency, the draft, the signing period, and then you got training camp. Minicamp is just for BS and storylines and drama that doesn't necessarily translate to anything about the team. Okay, let's just get into it, guys. My name is Asif Badi. I am the host of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast, and let's talk about some of the key positional battles on the team. Now, I'm not going to give who I believe should start for the most part. I'm just going to point out some key players in each position group and their importance on the year, in my opinion. Guys are going to be clear starters, I think, for the most part, especially on offense. We kind of know who's going to be the starter, except for a couple of positions, but we'll go through it anyway, okay? Let's start in the running back room. And with the big signing of Saquon Barkley, the Philadelphia Eagles made a splash signing for him. 3 years, damn near $40 million. Saquon Barkley is the guy. He's going to be the starting running back on the team. There's no question about that. My question is the guys behind him. We have to be prepared for life without Saquon Barkley because more likely than not, based on his track record in his career, he's going to miss games. He's going to get hurt. And I know it's not the Giants' offensive line, and it's not this putrid talent of offensive skill set and players on the team, but football is football. Saquon Barkley has been known to get hurt. So, can Kenny Gainwell, Will Shipley, Tyrion Davis-Price be the guys to step in when Barkley is out to make impact? They're going to have to be, and I think the guy that's most suited to do so is Kenny Gainwell. But can Kenny Gainwell be your true starter when Saquon Barkley is out? I don't know. That's why they drafted Will Shipley. But even then, Will Shipley is just like an okay player. Even though I like the experience that he brings because he's played college for 4 years. He is a smart player. Came from a big program at Clemson. Those three guys got to step up with Gainwell, Shipley, and Price. Something to keep an eye on in the future going forward, especially with Kellen Moore calling the offense. He tends to use running backs in versatile ways, especially a 1-2 punch type of running back. I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to be a true bell cow, a 4-down back type of deal, 3-down back. You know, he's going to switch it up. So these guys are going to have to be prepared, play some good football. Kenny Gainwell's probably the guy to step up and be the bell cow, so to speak, when Barkley is out. But I'm not certain that we have the best talent in the running back room outside of Saquon Barkley. So that's just food for thought. Let's go to the next position group at wide receiver. I told you this is going to be a really quick run through of each position group, okay? Wide receivers, we know you got, Slim Reaper and you got A.J. Brown, who I like to call Optimus Prime. The guy's a freak of nature, okay? The damn transformer that he is. Really, the key position here is wide receiver 3. And there's some guys here on the roster that we've brought in. Paris Campbell, Johnny Wilson, who we drafted, Anais Smith, another draftee. And we also brought in John Ross from retirement. And we had Devontae Parker. He decided to retire, which, another side note, this is the second player that we have signed who's come into the organization, who's come into the locker room, and has ultimately decided to, quote-unquote, retire upon entering Philadelphia Novacare Complex. I know Miles Jack was the other one. He ended up going back to Pittsburgh or whatever, but that's the whole nother story. But just something to keep your eye on. John Ross, Paris Campbell, Johnny Wilson, and Anais Smith are the guys here who are open for wide receiver 3. Now, I know Britton Covey's on the roster, and people believe he has a chance to play wide receiver 3. I don't believe that. I don't think anyone truly believes that. Again, he hasn't really shown any skill set to be a wide receiver 3. He's been a good return man, a really good return guy. Anais Smith has had a disappointing mini camp off season thus far. Apparently drops a lot of football passes. Johnny Wilson is a physical freak that people love. They love his size. What is he, 6'7"? The guy's like a really, really tall wide receiver, a lanky wide receiver, a big target for a guy like Jalen Hurts, especially over the middle of the field, who struggled last season throwing in that area. But really the guy that I think is going to come in and step up as wide receiver 3 is Paris Campbell. He's a guy who's been in Nick Sirianni's system before. He's played with the Colts a couple of years ago, had 60 catches, 600-plus yards on the year, went to the Giants, played for a $10 million contract, and had a disappointing year. But again, it's the New York Giants. You're always going to have a disappointing year when you're an offensive skill player on that team. And so I think his ability to be wide receiver 3, to be an explosive playmaker, the upside is there. And I know a lot of former Colts, and I know a lot of people who have watched Paris Campbell in the past. My buddy of mine is a Colts fan, loves Paris Campbell's ability. If he gets the ball in his hand and is able to stay healthy, he believes he could do a lot of work in this Philadelphia offense. And Jalen Hurts seems to trust him in the offseason, throwing the football to him a lot. They seem to have a rapport. He knows where he has to be in this offense. Nick Sirianni knows him. He knows Sirianni. And I think Paris Campbell is going to be a guy at wide receiver 3 that's going to step up and make some big plays for us and provide just a sense of production and security for that wide receiver 3. That's my thoughts at wide receiver. Those are really the important takeaways from that, in my opinion. The last group on the offensive side of the ball that matter to me is the offensive line. And I know majority of the offensive line position groups are pretty much set. Mailata's there, Juergens, Dickerson, Lane Johnson. But the key position here is right guard. And I know Tyler Steen is poised and penciled in right now as potential starter. But we brought in a guy, Mekhi Becton. And we brought in a draftee named Trevor Keegan, who I believe is going to be such a valuable draft pick for us. I think over the next few years, he's going to eventually play some football games for us, probably going to start for us at some point. But Tyler Steen and Mekhi Becton are the most interesting names here to me on the offensive line, because I've heard stories about Mekhi Becton potentially being moved to left guard and then Landon Dickerson being moved to right guard. I heard Tyler Steen starting at right guard, and then the offensive line is just going to be what it is. Now, the problem is Mekhi Becton is such a physical freak, and his ability is so immense. And being coached under Stoutland, as we know, is a game changer. And if a guy like Mekhi Becton is healthy, it's not a matter of whether or not the guy can play. The guy can play. His issues are injuries. And if he's on the field, you're getting a damn productive player. And it's a matter of whether or not you want him to play tackle or if he has the ability to play guard. He has the athleticism to do it, but he is 6'7". The guy's a huge football player. And if he ends up being a starting guard for us, that would be a huge offensive line that you got in front of Jalen Hurts. Like, big. Mailata 6'7". Becton 6'7". I mean, Lane Johnson, what is he, like 6'4"? The guy's huge. I mean, it's a big group of men on that offensive line. And then I just hope it would mean we would just commit to running the ball and Saquon has a big year. But that's neither here or there. Tyler Steen, coming off a rookie campaign, there's a lot of upside to him as well. He's had a year under his belt now, poised to be starter. I think he's excited to be starting right guard, and most likely he's going to be the starting guard. But again, with Jason Kelce not being there in the middle of the line, is it beneficial to potentially have a veteran on the guard spot with Mekhi Becton, who's played the game before, because Cam Juergens is not necessarily Jason Kelce? Maybe, but again, we'll see how this develops. We have faith in Cam Juergens. We have faith in this offensive line. No matter who we put at starting right guard, I think they're going to be productive regardless of who we play there. So just an interesting thought there for the offensive line group on the roster. And that kind of sums up the offensive starting battle positions. I know I went through that pretty quickly, even though we're about 10 minutes into the episode. But Now we're going to make a transition to the defensive side of the ball, okay? And these are going to be a little bit more of the interesting conversations, especially as we get towards the defensive back room. But on the defensive line, the key positions here are really the defensive tackles. And the two guys that I believe have the most to prove here are Jordan Davis and Milton Williams. Now, I love me some Milton Williams. I think he is a damn good football player. I think he's better than Jordan Davis. I think Jordan Davis, I don't believe he's going to be a 3-down lineman the way Philadelphia wants him to be. Even though he's going to get in shape, I believe in the work that he's putting in. I believe he's going to have a good year, but do I believe he's a true 3-down defensive tackle? I don't. I think Milton Williams is clearly the better football player. I think he's more athletically gifted. I think he's better in his technique, although Jordan Davis is a phenomenal run stopper. I think it's best suited if Jordan Davis is limited in terms of snaps to get the most production out of him. And then you put a guy like Milton Williams with Jalen Carter, two athletic, technically sound defensive tackles who can get after the passer and can play the run effectively. I think that's your best lineup on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the interior line with Josh Sweat on the edge. And then you got Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But if Milton Williams is your starter, you got to pay the guy because the guy's entering a contract year, and more likely than not, Harry Roseman and this organization is going to not pay Milton Williams unless they get him on the cheap. And if Milton Williams has a productive year, or if he's not starting, more likely than not, Milton Williams is just going to say, you know what, I'm just going to test I'm just going to test free agency and see what the market dictates. And I wouldn't blame him for that. But if I were Philadelphia, I would do everything I can to keep Milton Williams and have him start and have Jordan Davis as a rotational player getting split play with Milton Williams there. Because we know Jalen Carter is going to deliver. Can Jordan Davis deliver every single down? I don't believe so. He hasn't shown to do that at all in his football career. Why assume now and try to force him into something that he's not being or that he's not able to do at the moment? Just play Milton Williams, get the best player out there, and get the most production you can. So I hope Milton Williams starts, but that's my thought about the defensive line group. And obviously, Moro Jomo and Totalupa going in as rotational pieces will never hurt. Next position group is edge. And really, it's three guys, actually, that I kind of want to talk about. And Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith are really the two main guys who are probably going to see playing time this year. And can they step up is the key question. Will these two guys come in and make up for the production of Hassan Reddick, who, by the way, has not reported to Jets training camp at all or mini camp? Still having issues with the contract negotiation in New York. Howie Roseman seems to have dodged a bullet in that sense. Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith, will they step up is the question. We know Bryce Huff has physical ability. He had 10 sacks last year with about 50% of the snaps in the New York Jets defense. But again, that's a really talented defense. And I know Philadelphia on paper's got a talented unit, but it's not quite the New York Jets defense. And with Vic Fangio coaching him, maybe he's more willing to be a drop back coverage guy. And Bryce Huff, and same with Nolan Smith, because they're two athletically gifted players who could play not only the game of rushing the quarterback, but I think are willing to drop back into coverage if need be. And really all I need from Bryce Huff is just production and consistency. I don't care if he gets me 10 plus sacks. I don't care if he gives me, 12 plus sacks. I want him to be a good football player for Philadelphia. I want him to be able to cover. I want him to be able to do what Vic Fangio asks him to do. And that's the same thing with Nolan Smith. If he gives me 5 sacks on the year, but he's good in coverage and he's a good tackler and he just plays his zone and plays his position well, I'm going to be ecstatic about what I see from Nolan Smith. I don't need these gaudy numbers from my defense. I need the defense to be able to hold offenses to less points, to not give up pass plays, to be sure tacklers. I just want them to be fundamentally sound. I don't need production. I just need consistency. If you give me that in Philadelphia on the defensive side of the ball, I'm a happy camper. And I think everyone in Philadelphia should be a happy camper too. I wouldn't look for Vic Fangio to come in and bring us from the 26th ranked defense to a top 10 unit. That's insanity. It's ridiculous to expect that sort of jump. But what you can expect is guys to just know what the hell they're doing. And I at least want to see that. And hopefully Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith can give you that. And the other guy that I want to talk about in the edge department, in the linebacker department, is Jalen Hunt. And why we have not heard a damn thing about this guy. We drafted him in the 3rd round, and we haven't heard a damn thing about him. It kind of brings me to the point where I'm like, well, shit, we could have drafted, Peyton Wilson at linebacker here, as opposed to taking a flyer on Jalen Hunt. And maybe it's a pick that's going to be for us down the road in the next couple of years when maybe we don't sign Josh Sweat or we need another edge. But why have we not heard about this guy? I'm curious to see what this guy can do on the field. I'm hoping training camp's going to bring out some of the ability that this guy has. We shall see. Let's go to the next position group at linebacker. And really, the two guys that I believe are going to start is Devin White and Zach Bond. I think those are the two guys that are going to be penciled in as day one starters here. And I don't think anything they're going to do in training camp is going to change that unless Nakobe Dean and Jeremiah Trotter see the freaking light and have the Messiah embedded in them and become absolutely phenomenal football players. Jeremiah Trotter's a rookie. He's young. He's still got to earn his stripes. Nakobe Dean is on the verge of just, being let go, I think, of this team. I mean, this guy has to be healthy. I think he can play the run well. I think he's a good tackler, but damn it, he can't cover. He can't stay healthy, and he's small. And so is Jeremiah Trotter, to be honest with you. They're small linebackers. Devin White and Zach Bond, at the very least. Zach Bond can play Vic Fangio's scheme and almost at any position that Vic Fangio wants to put him in. So he's versatile in that sense. And then Devin White's physical ability is there. The guy has the physical traits to be a productive linebacker. The problem is the production has not been there outside of a playoff run with Tampa Bay, which, to be fair, they won the Super Bowl and he was phenomenal in that playoff run. Can Philadelphia and Vic Fangio bring out the best of Devin White? I hope so, because I like the signing. I thought it was huge upside to bring him in. I think it was a good signing to take him on. But now it's time to put up or shut up for Devin White. He's got to come in and play some really damn good football. I think he's going to be able to do it. I think he likes the vibes of the team. I think the team likes him. Let's see how he responds. But Devin White and Zach Bond are going to be the guys. I hope they bring us better production. And quite frankly, I hope in the next few seasons, Howie Roseman decides to just put more money at linebacker because, damn it, I'm tired of these, rotational linebacker guys here. These one-year signings that we keep putting out over here, they ain't working. You had a guy like TJ Edwards who you let go to Chicago for a cheap contract. You didn't want to pay him, and you're paying for it right now with these, plug-and-play linebackers. Again, let's just hope that they find production here with Devin White and Zach Bond. I think Vic Fangio will try to bring out the best in them, but we shall wait and see. And lastly, the cornerback room. This is the most intriguing defensive position group, probably on the whole team, to be honest with you. I'm just going to read off some of the names. We have damn near 11 guys here. Actually, we do have 11 guys. You got Darius Slay, Bradberry, Isiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper Dejean. You got Keelee Ringo, Eli Ricks. You got Josh Joby. You got Zach McPherson. You got Tyler Hall, who we signed in free agency. And then you got Sean Stevens, who was an undrafted rookie free agent guy. A ball-hawking player. A little bit on the smaller side in terms of his size. 5'9", I believe. But the guy knows how to play football. He can find the football. These guys are all our cornerbacks. and from a team that was horrific in the cornerback room last year, to all of a sudden now you have this room of just guys who know how to play the game outside of James Bradberry. I mean, you know my opinion on James Bradberry. I think the guy's a bum. I think we could trade him for a sack of cherries and be better off with it, but that's a whole nother discussion. What is the plan here? Cooper Dejean is the guy that's probably going to get the most playing time in terms of the rookies here because he's going to play slot. He's going to probably get some reps at safety. Quinyon Mitchell, unless Darius Slay or James Bradberry are not on the field, may not see playing time on the outside. You got Keelee Ringo there, who looks really good apparently in minicamp and in this offseason thus far. And I thought he looked pretty damn good last year as a rookie. And then you got players like Eli Ricks, who is a nice rotational piece. Zach McPherson, who, again, coming off an Achilles injury, was a really good special teams player. Joby's a good special teams player. You got Tyler Hall. You also have Mario Goodrich. You got Sean Stevens right now, who has high upside in terms of his ability to just be able to ball hawk. But there's a lot of guys here. And to me, Philadelphia needs to make a choice in terms of biting the bullet on James Bradberry. Are we going to freaking just get rid of this guy? Take the hit on the money. Say, we screwed up by paying this guy. I don't care that he's a veteran. If the guy can't play, the guy can't play. And he looked like he can't play. It looks like he doesn't have the legs underneath him anymore. If the guy can't play, you're not going to get trade value for him. So you might as well just cut your losses now. And then if you really wanted to trade somebody, you could trade Darius Slay, which I believe is on board for this or next season. I think that's on the table. The Darius Slay is going to be on the trading block. Because if Isiah Rodgers comes in and plays elite football the way he's been doing this offseason, and then you trust in Quinyon Mitchell and you trust Cooper Dejean, and you still have Keelee Ringo here, this defensive back room all of a sudden, especially at cornerback, looks pretty solid. It's definitely at worst a B-plus cornerback room. And quite frankly, we didn't have that last season. So the question for me is, what is Philadelphia going to do with Darius Slay and James Bradberry? Should we keep him? Should we not? That's a big question that we have to ask. I don't know the answer to that. I personally believe if you're trying to move forward, if you're trying to go youth on the defensive side of the ball, cut your losses now. Cut Bradberry, get rid of him, and then think about trading Darius Slay down the road. That's what I would do if I were them. But again, I'm just a fan. I don't have any insight to the team. It's not really my business. And I know I didn't mention quarterback before because Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter, but all the position battles that I talked about just now, all these guys, none of it matters unless Jalen Hurts plays elite quarterback. If he doesn't play productive quarterback and he doesn't, lead this team on the right path, cutting the turnovers down, none of it matters. None of it matters. Nick Sirianni's job is on the line. His reputation, Jalen Hurts, is on the line. Kellen Moore is on the line. Heads are going to roll if all of a sudden Jalen Hurts can't figure this out. And honestly, I don't believe he's that far off. He just needs to cut the turnovers down and check down the running back a little bit more. And they have to make a commitment to running the football. Help your quarterback out. Take some pressure off of him. It's going to open up everything else. It's really simple in Philadelphia in terms of offensive play calling. Just get some more motion. Get these guys in space and let them do work. If you could do that, Jalen Hurts, if you can get them in the right spot and understand when blitzes are coming, where they're coming from, and just throw the ball to the open guy on time and live to fight other downs when need be, you're going to be just fine. You could throw for damn near 30 touchdowns probably if you just do that. But I'm looking for less than 10 turnovers. You give me less than 10 turnovers, and I'm going to be really, really happy. I don't need you to be super productive in the passing game in terms of putting up 30 touchdowns and 10 picks. I don't give a crap about that. I want you to operate this offense with efficiency. Low turnovers, good decision-making. You do that, and you rely on the running game, your floor is a Super Bowl appearance at the very least. We saw it in 22. That's your floor. If you just do that. We shall see, we shall see. But that's a quick run through. Not necessarily a quick run through. It's a damn near almost 25-minute episode here. I apologize for taking up too much of your time, but I went through every key position for the most part. A quick run through. We'll get into specifics a little bit more as the offseason continues now, but that's a quick synopsis of what's going on in Philadelphia at position battles that I believe are most important and some of the things that I think will dictate the outcome of our season. If those things work out the way that they need to work out, we're going to win at the very least 11 games, 12 games. And if you do that in the NFC, you got a shot. You definitely have a shot. So let's hope for the best in Philadelphia. I'm excited to see what this offseason and what this training camp is going to bring. And listen, I don't know about you. I'm anticipating really, really big things, whether it's good or bad from this team. I don't know if we're a Super Bowl caliber roster. I really, really don't. But there's going to be some major, major changes by this time next year. And I'm curious to see what it's going to be. Will Nick Sirianni be here? Will Kellen Moore be the guy? What are we going to do with Jalen Hurts? Because there's been a lot of noise about the drama on this team. And I'm not necessarily for it. I'm definitely not for drama. But there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. And this training camp and this season is a really, really important pivot point of this era of Philadelphia. Because you got the talent, you got the players, you got the new coaching staff now. What's the excuse? Tell me what it is. To me, there isn't. So you better. And I'm talking to Jalen Hurts, and I'm talking to this offense, this coaching staff, this team. You better all come out and play team-oriented, clean, turnover-free, and quite frankly, the most productive football you have played in your career. Because if you don't this season, it is as damning, in my opinion, as any criticism you could throw out on a team. They need to be productive this year. Let's see if they will be. Hey, you got through a full episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, hit the like and subscribe button below. You can also check us out on Instagram at the Riding the Bench podcast with a K instead of C in the word podcast. And also check us out on audio platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. All of that is in the description below. Please come back next time for the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Thanks for listening.